What's going on, y'all? This is Vaughn from Repeat. Y'all tapping in on Heavy Hitters right now. If y'all want to find out how this store came about, y'all tap in right now.
First and foremost, Vaughn, I appreciate you coming out here and doing this podcast with us. And I just want to ask you a couple of questions. Like, first of all, congrats on your success with Repeat Atlanta. And I just want to talk to you about that for a little bit. Like, what made you open up the store? What has made you successful? And I want to talk a little bit about yourself as well.
Okay, for sure. Let's do it.
All right. So let's get on to it. So what has made Repeat Atlanta successful?
I think it's a combination of different things for sure. I think just me being not from Atlanta, but being in Atlanta so long, I pretty much went to high school and everything out here. So I know a lot of people. So I think me knowing a lot of people and just like me being a cool person in general, I think that helped me out a lot with everything.
And that's pretty impressive, bro. You have a location over at the Atlantic Station. And how old are you?
I'm 27 now.
That's crazy. That's pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah.
Especially with the type of celebrities and the high quality people that you've had over at your store. How have you been able to establish those connections?
To be honest, a lot of them are just like natural, to be honest with you.
Really?
A lot of people just kind of walk in. They might just come in. I might just talk to them, you know. It might be word of mouth, all types of stuff like that. I do know a lot of celebrities just from like just being around, to be honest. Like, I used to go out a lot. So I maybe partied with them before or introduced by someone else that I know, but I know them pretty,
Well, that's pretty crazy, bro.
Yeah.
You're like 27. You have other people trying to open up similar stores.
Mm-hmm.
What has made your store successful compared to those other?
I would say just everything being authentic, for real. I feel like a lot of people try too hard in the industry. I feel like it's good but bad maybe for them, but for me, I feel like when you come to Repeat, you know, it's something authentic for sure. So people could feel that and sense that when they come in the store, for sure.
Okay.
know?
And you're only 27.
Correct.
And give us some background, dog. Like, where are you from? Like,
So I'm originally from New Rochelle, 914, New York.
okay.
I moved away from there when I was like 10. I moved to North Carolina for a few years, High Point, North Carolina. I stayed there for about 4 years. Then I went to Gainesville, Florida. I lived there for about a year or so. My mom actually sent me to live with my dad in Atlanta. I moved to Gwinnett, and I started high school in Gwinnett, my 9th grade, and I kind of just been out here ever since. But
Oh, wow.
yeah,
And where's your family from?
my family. So my mom's she bounced back and forth from New York and Florida, and my dad's from New York. He's from Queens. So
Okay.
yeah,
And let's talk about race, if you don't mind.
yeah, for sure.
Like, what are you, dog? Because I can't tell whether you're Hispanic,
Yeah,
Puerto Rican.
I'm mixed, bro. So my
Mixed with
mom,
what?
yeah, my mom is she's half white and half black, and then my dad is half Jamaican, a quarter Puerto Rican, and a quarter Mexican. So my grandmother was half Mexican, half Puerto Rican, and my grandfather's Jamaican. So I'm kind of like I'm slick a mutt.
So how'd you end up in Georgia?
So I ended up in Georgia because I was bad in high school. I was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
I was bad. I lived with my mom. My mom was a single mother at that time. And I kept getting in a lot of trouble. She wanted some structure in my life. She wanted a better life for me. So she sent me to live with my dad. I hated it, but it's made me who I am today, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I respect it. But how did Repeat come about?
Repeat came about a lot of different ways. In high school, I used to be on a Facebook group called ATATF. And that was kind of like a page where you can buy, sell, trade shoes all day long. So, you know, I had a crazy collection in high school. I probably had 50 to 100 pair of Jordans in high school. I had like a job. I was working a lot just to make sure I had the flyest kicks in school. You know what I'm saying? I've always been in the shoes, always been in the clothes, everything like that. So it started there. I always like played around. There was a store that I used to go to called Fresh to Death. Back in the day, it was in Gwinnett. My boy actually used to work there, and I used to go there all the time. So I always like said little comments like, I think I want to have a store like this when I get older. But I never really like thought too much of it, you know, until I actually did it. you know.
Wow.
So
You're only 27, bro.
Really?
That's pretty young. For you to have, how many locations do you have?
So I have 2 different locations right now.
Okay, one at the Atlantic Station, and the other one is where?
It's in Buckhead.
Buckhead,
Yeah.
and that's completely yours.
Yes, both of them are completely mine. So the one in Atlantic Station, everything is brand new. You don't have to worry about getting anything used there. And then in Buckhead, we have our buy, sell, trade store. So you can come in, buy, you know, you can sell, you can trade your items with us and for store credit, stuff like that.
So how did you gain the capital to open up? Because these places aren't cheap, you know,
No,
especially in the locations that you have them where you're at.
Right.
So how did you gain the capital? How'd that come about?
So I was doing so many different things, like just like for like about 5 years prior to opening up, for the previous of opening up the store, I was doing so many things. I was, you know, I sold cars. Me and my boy, we had like a little dealership we were doing where we sold cars together, just going to auctions, stuff like that, selling the cars. I also was breeding dogs a lot during the pandemic. I had made a lot of money breeding dogs at that time. It was really crazy. I still was like reselling clothes and shoes a little bit, nothing too crazy like before, like once the store was open, but that was a lot of ways I had made the money there. So once I got enough, it didn't really cost a lot opening up the store in Buckhead.
Really?
But the one in Atlantic Station is where I really needed to take it to the next level and spend a lot of money.
So what do you think your store has done differently than other stores? Like, for example, I'm not sure if you heard of what happened over at Cumberland.
Yeah.
But there's a store that was doing like consignment type of shit. And they ended up closing down because of like fraud.
For sure.
So it's like, what does your store do differently than other stores?
So first of all, we don't do consignment at my store. We don't do consignment at all. So everything that we have in the store is purchased from me. You can only, we wouldn't even do the consignment thing just because it gets too tricky. And it's like, I'd rather just pay for it. Everything's owned. You know, be any hiccups or anything like that. But I would say that would be one. Like I said, back to the authentic thing, I think authenticity took me a long way as far as the store. So I would say that's probably the number one thing, to be honest with you.
And you've had like some high profile people in your store. Yeah. You've had Drewski, G Herbo.
Right.
How were you able to make those connections? Like,
so Drewski's actually from Gwinnett.
Okay.
I'm not specifically like very cool with him, but my boy Sean, he's pretty cool with him. I mean, he's kind of just connected the dots for me on that one.
Oh, wow.
And G Herbo was like random. Like, it was crazy. So Babyface Ray was in the store that same day, probably like an hour before. And my boy told me they were coming. He's from Detroit. And he hit me up like, yo, I'm about to have Face come to the store. Da-da-da-da-da. I was like, all right, cool, pull up. They came. We were chopping it up and stuff like that. They left. And then like 30 minutes later, I just see somebody walk through the door. They come, dap me up like, yo, what's good? I'm like, I look up and it's G Herbo. So it was kind of crazy for him to come in for sure, especially because I used to listen to him like crazy in high school. So it was definitely cool having him in there.
So Vaughn, if you don't mind me asking, like, what got you into sales?
So it's a crazy story how I got into sales. So I actually, when I was 17 or 18, I can't remember what year it was, I got locked up for criminal trespassing.
Really?
The story behind that was crazy. So I was actually camping out for some Gamma 11s at the time at Gwinnett Place Mall. I was there, and there was like a riot that kind of burst out where the whole front of the mall basically got busted into. They just started pulling people. They locked like, I want to say 7 people up at that time for criminal trespassing. I was one of them. I was like the first one in the line. I was camping out for shoes back in the time, and it was crazy. But I did that. I got locked up. My parents were like mad as hell at me because I was still in high school. So yeah, I had to be 17. I was still in high school. My parents were mad as hell. Like, it sounded crazy, but I was just at a mall camping out for shoes. And then the second time I actually got locked up. I got locked up for aggravated assault, and it was a crazy experience. It was just a crazy experience. I was in there for about a month. And one of my closest friends, rest in peace, Justin, my brother, we weren't talking for about a few months before this happened, but he basically called me the day I got out, and I was working at Costco at the time in the tire shop, and he called me. He said, "Bro, what the fuck?" And I was like, "I know, bro." Like, he was like, "Look, I got this opportunity for you. I've been working in a dealership. I work at Audi now. You know." He called me, and I was like, "Okay, that sounds cool. I just lost my job. You know, I just got out. It's been a month. I haven't talked to them or anything." So he called me. He was like, "Bro, I just talked to them. I can set you up with an interview to come tomorrow." This is literally the day I got out. So the day I got out, I had an interview the next day at a dealership, Kia, actually. So he called me. He set up the interview. I came the next day. They hired me on the spot. They were like, "Oh, I love him. He's great. Let's do it." So I start working at Kia. I'm there for about 3-4 months. I tell them, I said, "Look, I know I'm too good for this. Like, I know I'm like one of their top salespeople at the time. And within the 3-4 months I've been there, I said, "Look, y'all need to move me to Audi or I'm out." You know. So they moved me. They put me in Audi. I was like one of the top sales guys. Like the second month in, I stayed there for about a year, and I knew that I had it in me. You know. I knew I had it in me to do the sales stuff. I knew that I could sell anything. And like I told you before, I had did the dogs. I've done like the cars. I've been selling stuff already. So it's like, I just kept going with it. And I knew that repeat was the next thing for me. And I just kept going with that.
So out of all the stores that are like yours, right?
Yeah.
What do you think made your store successful, and why do you think other stores fail?
What made my store successful would be we've stayed very consistent over the time. I actually hit 2 years today since repeat was first created. Today was the day.
Congrats.
2 years ago. Yeah, appreciate that. I would say the consistency was number one. Having the products and the knowledge of the clothes would be number two. And then number three would just be the relationships that we built. Just very authentic relationships.
But how were you able to build those relationships at such a young age? You're only 27. You didn't have any stores before that. So, like, how were you able to establish those connections?
To be honest, I don't know. I would say that's just me being a cool person.
So why do you think other people, like, fail in this type of industry and this type of business?
I would say they either didn't stay consistent, or they probably tried too hard to be someone they're not. A lot of the times that the stores that I've seen, it might be someone who just had a lot of money and needed to do something with their money to figure out what they wanted to do in life. But that doesn't mean that you could just open up a shoe store and just, build all these connections and be the best store in, the America or the world or however you want to look at it. But I feel like it's the relationships that you have to build for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who do you credit as far as like your success with the store that you have or these stores that you have? Who do you credit? Like, is it yourself? Yeah. Are you religious? Do you thank God? Is it someone you looked up to? Like, because you're young, bro. Yeah. You're only fucking 27 years old. And it's like, who did you look up to establish these businesses?
To be honest, I never looked up to anyone as far as the business. But who helped me, I would say everyone on my team helped me. For sure. Like, without them, I couldn't do any of this at all. I couldn't do any of this with them at all. I needed them. It was crazy. My mom, shout out my mom for sure.
Yeah.
I called my mom one day, like 2 months before the first store opened. I called her. I said, "Hey, Ma, I think I want to open up a store." She said, "What kind of store?" I said, "A clothing store. I remember I told you about this when I was in high school." Yeah. She was like, "Oh, yeah, I do remember that." She was like, "Are you serious? Like, is this something you want to do?" I was like, "Yeah, tell me a name. Think of it." And she thought a repeat within like a minute. She was just naming names. She stopped at repeat. And I said, "Repeat." I said, "I think I'm going to use that." And then I just went with it. And then that's crazy. But that's what happened with that.
So your mom really came up with the name?
My mom came up with the name. Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, my mom came up with the name.
And how do you think repeat has changed your life? Because obviously you're an owner of a store. I'm sure like a lot of people want to be your friend.
Yeah.
Or the simple fact that you own a store. I'm sure women want to just date you because you own fucking repeat.
Right.
So how has that changed your life?
It's changed a lot. I do have a lot of people that want to try to come around now that probably weren't before.
Yeah.
As far as the woman, I would say that I look at everything like a business relationship. So if I feel like this girl might be able to bring someone to the store that could potentially be a shopper or a big shopper or, you know, just shop at all, then, you know, I have that relationship going with them, but I keep it to a certain extent, you know.
And how do you know when someone's just with you for like the simple interest that you're a high profile person that compared to just like your average Joe?
So I look at it like everyone's with me because of that. That's how I look at it. I don't know if it's the right way to look at it. That's just how I look at it. I'm at a point now where it's like, I just feel like you should have came before. I do have a girlfriend, by the way. So, yeah.
And how long have you been there?
I've been with her for like 4 years now.
4 years?
Yeah.
So, how long have you had repeat?
2 years today.
2 years.
Yeah.
So, she was with you before the whole thing?
Yeah, before that.
Okay.
She's seen pretty much everything, for sure. Like, building up repeat. She's seen what I was doing before repeat. She's seen, like, pretty much my ups, my downs, my standstill. She's seen everything.
So, how do you know she's the right one?
I just feel it. I just feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about, let's not talk about like personal relationships, but let's talk about like friendly relationships. How do you know when someone's genuine or not? Because I'm sure now that you own a store, like a lot of people want to reach out, like, hey, Vaughn, like, fuck with me on this shit and that. Right. So it's like, how do you know which connections are like real and which ones aren't?
So to be honest with you, what I do with that is I've always felt like I've been able to read people very well.
Yeah.
But pretty much how I do it now is like, I just don't let people in unless you've been introduced to me by one of my close friends. So I only got like probably 4 to 5 of my closest friends, you know. So if I don't meet you through one of them, I probably, you know, I don't pay too much attention to it, you know, because I go off their word at the end of the day. If they're cool with you, then we could be cool too, because I trust their judgment, you know. Those are my friends at the end of the day. So.
And so what advice would you give to someone that's trying to do something similar to you? They're trying to open up a store like yours. What do you feel like they have to do?
I just feel like they need to stay consistent. I feel like they need to be themselves. The main thing is be yourself. Those are the 2 main things I would say.
All right. So something that I personally have struggled with, you know, reaching a certain amount of money. Right? At such a young age, you're only 27 years old. You're going to have people around you that like going clubbing.
Right.
That like going to strip clubs, love drinking, love doing drugs. But you have to be self-disciplined in order to run the businesses that you're running.
Right.
How have you able to combat those distractions?
So I actually do all of those things except for the drugs. I don't do drugs, but I do the clubbing. I go to the strip clubs. I feel like personally, I met a lot of my customer base from those places. Yeah. So I feel like with whatever business you're working with, I feel like, you know, it could be a beneficial thing for you. That's another thing when you ask me the question about what am I doing that other people aren't doing. I feel like I'm the only store owner that I see in the clubs, you know, in the strip clubs. I've never seen another store owner in there. So I feel like when people come to my store, they're like, oh, wow, that's the guy I just seen in Magic, or that's the guy I just seen in Allure, you know, and it makes them, you know, gravitate towards me a little bit more personal. You know, it's a little bit more personal. Like, oh, okay, I can actually relate to this dude. Oh, okay, he's cool, you know. So it's just a perspective thing. It's like I actually like to do those things. I've been doing this for so long. It's just like,
and that's crazy though, because I'm a real estate agent, so I feel like going out, hanging out with my friends that love doing these things, has negatively impacted my business.
Okay.
So the fact that you're saying this has like improved your business is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's just how you feel about it.
That's just
you don't think drinking or going out with your friends and spending money that you shouldn't be spending.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, that's the bad part. That's the bad part. There's ups and downs though to it, you know. Right. It's like, yeah, you might spend this money now, but you know, you never know what the future may hold. You never know what ideas you may come up with in the future. Because you know, I have repeat, but I have other stuff I'm working on as well. So.
And what business ventures do you have coming up that we don't know about?
I actually have a restaurant opening up. Supposed to be Monday, but I'm getting the final details and everything now. We're working on a lot of things to just make sure everything's open up on time, but it should be Monday.
Okay. Yeah. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's called Pretty Little Tacos. I partnered up with them on the first brick and mortar location that's on Moreland Ave. and it's a burrito taco spot. We got like oxtail tacos. We've got oxtail burrito tacos, oxtail ramen. We got a lot of stuff like that. So,
how'd that come about?
So that was actually a crazy story. It was one of my close friends. It's his baby mother's family kind of thing, and I tried the tacos a long time ago, and they were great. And I said, yo, plug me in with these people. I want to do business with them. And now it's over a year later, and they finally reached out to me, and we worked something out. So here I am, and I'm excited about it.
That's dope, bro.
Yeah.
You're only 27 years old. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I see myself somewhere in the Hollywood Hills, living life, shirt off, in the pool, chilling somewhere.
How are you going to make it, though? Are you going to open up multiple repeat
Oh, yeah,
stores,
for sure. We're already looking at another location in Houston.
Oh, wow.
A location in Houston coming soon. I have another, a bigger location in Atlantic Station coming about in the next few months, hopefully. Everything goes smooth with that. But the store right now, we just outgrew it so fast that Atlantic Station reached out to me, and they see it, and they're like, hey, we want to give you a bigger space. So we're working on that right now.
So you obviously know a lot of people that are in your industry fail.
Yeah, right.
What piece of advice would you give to someone that's trying to do something similar to what you're doing?
As far as the startup?
Yeah, as far as like opening something similar to repeat.
I would say for them to just stay consistent. Be authentic again. I feel like those are like the three main things that you need to be. It's consistent, be authentic, and just know your product for sure. Because a lot of the times that you also see with these guys is they won't look like the stuff they're selling, and I feel like you definitely need to look like what you're selling. You know what I mean? Like, you could literally go in my store right now, and everything that I'm wearing, you can get it. St. Michael, that's one of my favorite personal brands right now. It's a Japanese brand, but you can pretty much get St. Michael at all times at my store. Prada, of course. Everyone knows who Prada. And then, Virgil, Louis Vuitton Air Forces. You could get those too. But, yeah.
All right, Vaughn. So what's your why? What keeps you going? What keeps you doing the things that you're doing now?
So when I was younger, I used to play around with my mom, and I honestly don't think I was playing around, but she thought I was playing around with her. And I used to always tell her, like, I'm going to be a millionaire one day. And I feel like every kid probably said this to their mom at some point in their life. You know what I mean? And I used to literally tell her this all the time, but I just knew it. It's like I just had that feeling like, look, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to do this and that. And I just didn't know what it was yet, but I knew I had that mentality to be a millionaire one day. And I feel like what kept me going was just me wanting to fulfill that dream that I kind of told my mom as a kid. And the lifestyle, like I always looked at the lifestyle of, I looked up to a lot of artists, like rappers and athletes back in the day, and I just kind of seen the life they live, and I knew that's what I wanted for myself in the future. And here we are. I'm living that life now. Oh,
and how does your mom feel about that?
My mom, she's like
now that you're making it, dog, it's like, what is she saying?
So
about
my mom,
that shit?
me and the relationship me and my mom have, she's like more like my sister now. It's kind of weird. I'm my mom's oldest child, her favorite child. Yeah, definitely her favorite child. My sisters and brothers gonna be mad about this, but they know it already. But yeah, she's like my sister now, so I can call my mom. I can talk to her about pretty much anything. I could ask her for advice on anything I got going on. She'll give me her honest opinion. I could literally just talk to her about it, and she kind of acts like she doesn't realize what's going on. Yeah, because it's my mom at the end of the day.
Oh, for sure.
She just kind of acts like she doesn't know what's going on. So she just congratulates me. She's there for me every moment. Every time I do something with the store, she wants to be there. She wants to be involved. So she's always there for me. But my mom is pretty much what keeps me going. My mom, my family, just wanting to take everything to the next level.
All right, and Vaughn, I want to get personal. Let's say I'm your younger brother,
right?
And I'm trying to open up a store like yourself, bro. It's like, what's that piece of advice you can give me?
So I would personally say that you need to, whatever you're doing at that time, just kind of drop it. I've been a risk taker my whole life, so I'm okay with the fact if I go back to zero, because I feel like if I go back to zero, I could do it all over again. So I've never been afraid to take a risk. I've been taking risks my whole life. I quit so many jobs with nothing else to do. You know, I've had a lot of jobs. I've turned down jobs just because I felt like I had the vision, and it paid off. Thankfully, it doesn't always pay off for everybody, but if I had to give advice to a little brother or someone of mine that I'm close to, someone that I know, I would just let them know to just stay consistent, keep grinding, keep going. It doesn't happen overnight for anybody, you know. And most of the time when you do see that rare case scenario where it is an overnight thing, it usually doesn't last long. I'm here for longevity. And, I mean, 5 years from now, I don't know where I'll be, but I know I'll be doing something that I wanted to do back in the day, you know what I mean? So I would say you just got to keep going, man. I appreciate the youth. I like the kids that I see every day. I like to talk to kids. I like to hear their perspective on stuff, because at the end of the day, kids are just, you know, their mentality is so different, and we had that mentality. We all had that mentality at some point, you know, back in the day.
Yeah, so we knew everything. Nobody could tell us.
Exactly. We knew everything. You know, we were those kids back in the day, and I still feel like I'm a kid, but I'm not at the same time. So I like to hear what they have to say. I like when kids come in my store, I might talk to them for an hour. I might not even know these kids, but I'll talk to them just because I want to hear their perspective on stuff. You know, I want to know what their plans is. I have kids that come to me all the time. They got different clothing brands. They got stuff they want to show me, and I might give them pointers. And I'm always keeping it, you know, real with them. If I don't like it, I will tell them, like, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. And they look at that like as helpful, and it is, you know, because I'm just being real with them. But I just tell them to stay consistent and, you know, come back, show me your updated product or progress or however you have. And, you know, I try my best to help people at the end of the day. I've always been like that. I've been like, I'm a good friend. My family loves me. I'm a family man. But yeah, I try to be authentic, bro. Like with everybody, like I might not know you, but I've never been one of those people that are just like dickheads. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't really fuck with that.
You don't let that shit get to your head?
Yeah, I don't let nothing get to my head. I honestly, like, I still feel like this is the beginning for me. I feel like I haven't really achieved anything yet. No matter what anybody sees it, it hasn't hit me yet.
Yeah.
But it's not because it hasn't hit me. It's because I honestly don't think that I'm not where I want to be yet. You know,
right?
So I got a lot of stuff that
and you're very young, you know. Yeah. But if you could go back in time to change some shit that you've done, what would that be?
The only thing that I would say, like I said before, I'm okay with everything I did. The only thing that I would have done is maybe focus a little more.
What do you mean by that, though?
So like I said, I was partying a lot. I was clubbing a lot. I still do those things time to time. I don't do them as much, but there was a time where I was like, I might have been, you know, I might have been out 3 times a day for years straight. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Like there was a time where I might have went out to brunch, got mimosas, you know, might have went on a date at lunch. This is the second time of the day. And then third, I might go to dinner, get some more drinks, and then we ended at the club or something like that. So it's just I wasn't at that point. I wasn't ready for what I'm ready for now. You know, I was just kind of living life, being that young person, getting my last little years of my mid-20s out the way. But I knew coming into my almost 30s now, I knew that I had to do something to like change the game and just change me in general. You know, there's a time where I feel like everyone should grow up. Everybody has a different age. There's no age that I feel like you should grow up. It's just when you kind of feel it, you know.
So now at your age, are you going out? Are you drinking? Are you partying? Are you going to strip clubs? Yeah. Let's just be honest with it. Like, are you doing those things now?
Yeah, I'm still doing those things. I'm not going as much for sure. Like back in the day, like I said, I was going to clubs and strip clubs literally every single day. So it's like I went from doing that, so I might go to the strip club once a month now. You know, I might go to the club 2-3 times a month, the max. I'm not doing that anymore. I feel like Atlanta this is not the same as it used to be before. On top of that, I'm seeing the same stuff. You know, if I go out of town, I might do the same things, but it's because it's different. It's a different environment, you know. But As far as Atlanta, I'm pretty much I just stayed out the way.
Nah, I appreciate you coming out here, bro. Honestly, coming down here to Atlanta and just shooting the podcast with us.
Nah, for sure, bro. I appreciate that.
Thanks, bro.
You the only one that got me drinking liquor too, man. I've been on like a 30-day cleanse, but fuck it, we you know, I did it for you, bro. Nah, for sure, bro. $1 million cash, brick or raw, scrape the plate. Scared, stuff it in my pants, dog. Shit break the